Welcome back to another episode of Between Two Clouds. I'm Danny Hunt. Our guest today is Adam Trzonkowski. Adam is a VP of Solutions Engineering here at Opex Technologies. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Danny. I'm really happy to be here.
I like happy. I like that you're here. So, one of my favorite things about recording these episodes is that we don't use virtual backgrounds. Had a conversation with Eric last week about this. And I think you and I probably are part of the anti-virtual background establishment. It's a chance to really get to learn things about somebody. And there's a lot of things that you've got in your office there that I love to ask you about. But let's start with, and again, different perspectives, but on my screen, it's above top left of you. It looks like coins. What's the story there? Tell me about those.
Sure. So those are challenge coins. Any of our folks that have prior service in the military, possibly first responders, would kind of know them. But generally speaking, when you accomplish something for a military organization as either in or not, and I was a contractor, I just want to be clear about that. I didn't serve, but I worked for the military for about 5-6 years. When you accomplish something, you are given a coin. And there's a little, I don't want to call it game to it, but let's call it tradition as well. And so the way that works is you always want to be trying to collect the highest level coin you can. So obviously POTUS being the highest level. So I think back there, my highest level might be a full bird colonel. And the kind of way it works is you always keep a coin on you at all times. And particularly after work is done in an appropriate setting, when you go to have an adult beverage or two, someone can do a challenge and you all put your coins on the table and whoever has the lowest ranked coin buys that round. So there's a lot of, different organizations do it differently, but that's when I was coming up, that's what we did. And of course, yeah, like I said, you really wanted those 4-star generals or admirals, you wanted POTUS, anything like that, Secretary of Defense. I never got that high up the chain, but I think I have a full bird colonel back there.
What a cool story. So did you ever lose any POTUS coins?
No, I've never seen a POTUS coin. I have never seen one. I have definitely seen lost to a 1-star general. That's happened because I thought with a full bird colonel I'd be in pretty good shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then cool. I have seen at some of my other, like, not at drinks adult time, but a lot of us display them like this. So there was a Chief Warrant Officer 5 at Fort Gordon that I was at, and he had a 4-star. So that was impressive.
That's cool. That's very impressive. The closest thing that I can relate to that is in my previous life at Hosted Solutions and then Tierpoint, when we used to stash bottles of Zima in folks' drawers. I think Rich and Auburn and even Sean here probably can attest or have experienced that at some point in time. Well, that's awesome. That's a great story, Adam. So the transition from practitioner to advisor, solutions engineering, what made you make that change? What brought you here?
Well, it was terrifying. I'll start with that. I'll be perfectly honest. As I've been practicing 20 plus years. I'd been in leadership for over 9 years. And the idea of switching from that to being on, what I'll call your side, the non-practicing side, which is now my side too, was terrifying. But it came down to a couple things. So number one, I was looking to make a career move and move up. And where I was at, my CIO, who was my mentor, by generally speaking, was a younger man, very happy with his career, loved what he was doing. And that was my next step for that company, right? There wasn't really going to be much mobility. And I certainly didn't want to try to push him out, right? I mean, that's my mentor. I love the man. So there just wasn't a lot of room to move. And I had tried a few things and it just didn't work out. And I was kind of getting frustrated. So I reached out to Auburn because Auburn knows everybody. And I said, hey, Auburn, I'm a little frustrated. Yeah, I'm a little frustrated. I really want to move up. I need something bigger. I need a greater challenge. Can you help me out? He's like, I can absolutely help you out. I'm with some people right now. Let me call you back later. I said, okay. So later that day, he calls me back and he said, would you ever consider working for us? And that just completely threw me for a loop because, Auburn was my first call. And here we go back, first call, best call, I guess. And so we talked about it. and we talked about it a lot, and I was really frightened. I'll be honest with you, because to me, I'm giving up the practice, I'm giving up all my staff, I'm giving up all this. But I had been a long-term Opex customer, and I really believed in what Opex did. And again, I'm not trying to blow smoke, but the biggest thing that always differentiated Opex for me was the personal integrity portion of it, and that's something that's big for me. And I thought, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I could do it with Opex. So they made me a really good offer I couldn't refuse, and here I am.
That's awesome. You and Ben, I think, and even Sean, the having that background on the other side, I think, is super helpful, and being able to sit down with somebody and translate, the traditional business challenges to the kinds of things that we support. So I love that you got that background. Obviously, love that you made the change, and we're certainly happy that you're here. I know I should probably ask another question about what brought you here, but the nerd in me is now fixated on other stuff in your office.
Sure.
The lightsaber behind you.
Yes.
What's going on there? Tell me about that.
So I make no qualms. I've hit that age where I'm not really worried if people think I'm a complete nerd or somewhat immature about certain things. Right?
Yep, same.
Yep, that's the thing. Like, I handle my adult stuff that I have to handle, bills, taxes, work. And when I'm not, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love watching Star Wars stuff. So this particular lightsaber is exciting. There's an experience you can do at Disney World where you actually go in and you build it yourself while they kind of put on a little show. And I'll be honest with you, it was extremely impressive. I thought it was going to be very kid oriented, and I was like, okay, look, I still want to do it. I don't care. I'm the child in me wants to do it. But no, it's actually quite dramatic, and it's really cool. And so you actually assemble it, and a Jedi master is explaining to you how to assemble it. And the coolest part is you don't realize it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but let's just say, like, when the reveal happens, like, you can't see the plastic blade, and it actually kind of almost materializes. But I don't want to ruin it. But that's down at Disney World. I do highly recommend it. So it lives here along with my 3D printed stand and some kyber crystals. And I'm not going to say that's the only lightsaber, because there's a couple others from a different vendor. And who doesn't want to be a Jedi?
I do. All right.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is my ADD or my OCD or however you want to capture it, but 3D printed stand.
Yes.
I've been considering them for a while. Jamie Watson over at Sun Auto, I think, further encouraged that for a beginner who wants to be able to do some cool things. Any particular brand or model you'd recommend?
Absolutely. So 3D printing, depending on how you want to get into it, can be very frustrating or very easy. And it goes from the as DIY as you want to as consumer ready as you want. I started in a harder area. I started in resin printing. I don't really recommend people start with resin printing. The absolute, in my experience, easy, ready to go, right out of the box, Bamboo Labs. If you get an A1 or an A1 Mini, it takes almost no setup. They walk you through, and you're good to go. And also,
filament printer.
Filament printer. And also, my bookends are 3D printed. I 3D printed those too.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yes, I highly recommend the Bamboo Labs. Again, I don't get any residuals for it. I probably should, but it's a very reasonably priced printer, and they have bigger, nicer, more exciting printers. But like, if you want a good mid-size starter, Bamboo Labs A1. If you want a really inexpensive, just to try it, A1 Mini. But the A1 Mini, you can't grow it.
Okay, I got you. All right, I'll check them out. And there's no Adam Trzonkowski product code that I can use for 10% off that you get residuals off of?
Nope, it's not that kind of podcast.
Oh, I love it. Adam, listen, man, I really enjoyed chatting with you here for a little bit. Appreciate you entertaining me. Appreciate you letting me ask some questions. It's good to have you on.
Absolutely, Danny. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we'll see you.